Before anything was spoken, before light had ever touched existence, before even silence could be named, what was there? Not darkness. Darkness is a reaction to light. Not emptiness. Emptiness suggests space. Not silence. Silence implies the possibility of sound. None of those existed, because nothing existed. And yet, something did. There was no before, no after, no then. Those ideas belonged to time, and time had not yet been allowed to exist. There was no movement, no stillness, no contrast, no boundary, no up, no down, no distance, no direction. No universe waiting to be formed, no particles drifting in a cosmic void, because even the void had not yet been created. And still, there was presence. Not somewhere, not everywhere, because where did not exist. It was not a being among others. There were no others. It did not occupy space. It did not move through time. It was not contained. It was not measurable. It was not defined. It simply was. Uncreated, uncaused, unchanging. A reality so absolute that nothing could stand outside of it, because there was no outside. No mind could comprehend it. No language could capture it. No image could represent it. And yet, it was not nothing. It was fullness, total, complete, infinite. A presence so vast that even the idea of vastness collapses in its attempt to describe it. No light shined, but it was not dark. No sound echoed, but it was not silent. No form appeared, but it was not empty. It existed beyond every category your mind can hold. And within that incomprehensible presence, there was awareness. Not like human awareness, not thought, not reflection, but perfect knowing. A knowing without process, without beginning, without discovery. Nothing needed to be learned because everything already was. There was no question, no doubt, no uncertainty, only absolute knowing. And yet, within that knowing, something stirred. Not movement. Movement requires time. Not change. Change requires sequence. But something deeper. A shift in expression. A will. Not a desire born from lack. There was no lack. Not a reaction. There was nothing to react to. This will did not emerge from need. It existed as pure authority. A will that did not ask, did not hesitate, did not evolve. A will that simply is. And that will began to lean towards something impossible. Expression. Not because it had to, but because it could. And that single possibility changed everything. Not in space, not in time, but in meaning. For the first time, though time did not yet exist, there was a direction. Not a place, not a path, but an intention. and that intention carried within it the blueprint of everything that would ever exist. Galaxies, stars, oceans, mountains, breath, life, every story, every victory, every fall. All of it compressed within a single immeasurable will, unreleased, unspoken, waiting without waiting, because waiting requires time, and time had not yet begun. And yet, something was approaching, not from a distance, distance did not exist, but from within, the infinite turning toward manifestation, the unexpressed pressing against the edge of expression. But there was no edge, until now. A boundary began to form where no boundary had ever been. Not a line, not a wall, but a threshold. The point where what is could become what is not. And in that impossible threshold, tension was born. Not conflict, but pressure. A pressure so immense that it could give birth to reality itself. Everything held, everything suspended, as if all existence, though not yet created, was holding its breath. There were no seconds ticking, no countdown, and yet it felt like the final moment before something irreversible. The presence did not change, it did not grow, it did not transform, but its will focused, condensed, sharpened, like an infinite force narrowing into a single point, not visible, not audible, but undeniable. And in that concentration, something new appeared, not in space, not in matter, but in essence. Authority. The kind of authority that does not negotiate with reality, but defines it. The kind that does not transform what exists, but brings into existence what never was. The will became command, not spoken yet, but ready. The weight of that command began to press against the threshold, and suddenly, for the first time, there was a moment, not measured, not counted, but real. The moment before everything, the moment that holds all moments within it. And within that moment, the silence became heavy, not empty, heavy, filled with something about to break, something unstoppable, something final. And then the impossible approached, the unspoken word, not a sound, not a vibration, but a force, a reality, the origin of all expression. It did not travel, it did not rise, it emerged from the will, from the presence, from the absolute. Everything that would ever be stood on the edge of this word. Every atom, every law, every life, suspended, waiting without waiting, because once spoken, nothing could return to what it was, because what it was would no longer exist. There would be time